So, good morning, respected chair and fellow speakers. The largest Muslim persecution in our times is happening in Xinjiang, and there aren't much dialogues or global attention on such a grave issue. So, today I am presenting on cultural genocide in Xinjiang, examining the responses of the Muslim world. So, as an introduction, we need to discuss who are Uyghurs. So, Uyghurs are the Turkic-speaking ethnic minority native to the East Turkestan, or officially, as China calls it, Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, which is the largest administrative unit in China. So, moving on to the topic. So, why Xinjiang is discussed, or why Xinjiang is in the medias now? So 1 in every 10, that is more than 1 million Uyghurs are detained in internment camps in China. So more of these detentions are arbitrary by extrajudicial measures. There have been atrocities such as high torture, rape of women, forced indoctrination of Chinese nationalism alleged from these camps. People are forcefully made to denounce their own religion and vow allegiance to Chinese Communist Party. There have been strict birth control measures taken with forced pregnancy tests, abortions, and sterilization of Uyghur women. The whole population is under tight surveillance by CCTV cameras being placed everywhere, and DNA and iris details are stored of Uyghurs, and all their phones are tracked. So this is happening in Xinjiang. So we can now examine what are Chinese response to these allegations. So China claims that these are vocational re-education camps aimed to cultivate new skills in population, and the labor programs are aimed at poverty alleviation in the region, and nothing is forced in these camps. So China alleges risks such as terrorist threat from Uyghurs, citing their past involvement in transnational Islamic terrorist groups. So they state this securitization is a part of strategy to crack down three evils of religious extremism, separatism, and terrorism. So moreover, whenever there is a discussion or query on this issue, China clearly states that Xinjiang is purely an internal affair of China. So going to a reality check based on some evidences, in case of population control, we can clearly see that the population of Uyghurs have reduced from 80% of the total population in Xinjiang in 1949 to just 45% now. So there are clear records of people with more children being asked to pay a huge amount fine or sent to the detention camps. So birth rates are significantly decreasing in this area, and Swar has transformed from the fastest growing to the slowest growing region in China. And the health statistics clearly points a boom in sterilization in this region. So in this image below, it is a satellite image, probably by New York Times, is one of the internment camps in China. You can see how tightly it is secured. And cultural genocide in Xinjiang. So just 2 days before, a report by an Australian think tank named Australian Strategic Policy Institute was released, which shows that thousands of mosques in this region are destroyed or partially damaged based on the satellite images and ground reports employed by them. So the number of mosques in this region are at the lowest now since the Cultural Revolution. Various measures are adopted by the Chinese government to eliminate the music, language, and diets of Uyghurs. And even long beards and veils are not allowed. So children are often separated from their parents to grow up without understanding Islam. So what is the strategic importance of Zuar to China? Why China is too much cared about this region is that this region is, as you can see in the map, very rich in oil and other mineral resources, and is very vast in energy resources. Apart from that, it is a vital point in China's BRI network and a corridor for many projects. It provides China a direct land border with the major Central Asian nations of the region. So stability in Xinjiang is very essential point for China's ambitions in Belt and Road Initiative. And examining the responses, the main point of the presentation, examining the responses from the Muslim world, it is very unfortunate to note that majority of the Muslim nations are not only silent but have supported China on its activities in Xinjiang. So on July 2019, 37 nations have defended China on a letter addressed to the Human Rights Council, which was against a letter by 22 Western nations. This letter supported China against politicizing human rights issues and justified China's efforts in facing challenges of terrorism. So it's very interesting as well as disappointing to note that this list included nations such as Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Egypt, UAE, Oman, Syria, Nigeria, and most Central Asian states such as Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, which are predominantly Muslim nations. And Organization of Islamic Cooperation, this is the most influential Muslim international forum with 57 member nations. And again, it is very unfortunate to note that OIC has passed a resolution in which it commended the China's efforts in taking care of Muslims in the country. They also stated that they are looking forward for furthering cooperation between OIC and China. So forums such as World Uyghur Congress saw this stand by OIC as utterly disappointing. So examining the responses from major Muslim nations, so the most important one here is Turkey. So Turkey has a vital voice in this issue because Uyghurs are ethnically and culturally connected to Turkey. They are Turkic Muslims. For a long time, Turkey has been a safe haven for the Uyghurs who fled China due to persecution, and usually they have relatives in Turkey. Turkey's civil society and government have often criticized China and asked them to treat Uyghurs rightly. And it's hopeful to note that in December 2019, the Turkey government led by Erdogan very hopefully condemned China's treatment of Uyghurs, calling it a great shame on humanity. So, as we know, money buys anything in this world, and recently Turkey is very silent on this issue. The probable reason can be the huge economic investment of China in Turkey as a part of BRI. Turkey's struggling economy was helped a lot by huge loans from China Exim Bank and AIIB. So now the very same Erdogan and Turkey has resorted to extraditing refugees back to China, inviting criticism from all over the world. It is notable that due to this particular stand, Erdogan's ambitions to establish a caliphate, reviving old Ottoman Empire and be a champion of the Muslim world is under question. So Pakistan. It is satirical. I mean, I'll call it satirical to note that apart from sharing land borders with Xinjiang and many Pakistanis having Uyghur wives, when asked about this issue, Pakistani PM Imran Khan stated that he didn't know much about this issue. When most stressed, he stated China has helped Pakistan in its toughest times. So we know clearly in any international issue that China and Pakistan will stand on which side. We know it clearly. And going to Saudi Arabia, who claims to be the savior of the whole Muslim world. Saudi was a signatory in that infamous letter and has always supported China on this issue. Mohammed bin Salman, on his visit to China in 2019 February, stated that Chinese media that China was right to place Uyghurs in training camps to prevent the spread of extremist thinking. So it's worthy to note that China is Saudi's largest trading partner with investments amounting to more than $75 billion. Also, it is an inalienable part of MBS key project Vision 2030. So coming to nations who haven't yet publicly supported China on this issue or who are remaining neutral on this issue, there are Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. So they are the Central Asian neighbors of Xinjiang, and they have remained neutral on this issue. And civil society organizations in these nations are calling for attention on this. So I'll also state a hopeful report from Malaysia. So Malaysia is the only Muslim nation, predominantly Muslim nation, who have taken guts to publicly criticize China on their treatment on Uyghurs and expressed displeasure. They bravely refused to extradite refugees back to China very recently. So I'll also state an ironic development which is notable. The Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, in a telephonic conversation with Xi in July, pledged his support for China's position in Xinjiang and Hong Kong. So, examining the reasons for the silence of these countries. So, the silence of these countries are highly traced to the economic reasons. So, China have huge economic investments in MENA region. Most of these nations are key players in China's flagship project BRI and are in debt trap with China. We also know China has a track record of seeking economic vengeance on countries voicing against them. There are some theological and ethnic reasons, such as these are strict Sunni nations and they are not much attached to Islamic culture of Uyghurs with the involvement of Sufi characteristics in it. And it is notable that Uyghurs are not Arabic Muslims and they do not speak Arabic. They have a Turkic lineage. So this can be an ethnic reason why they are not much attached to this issue. So all these nations have a track history of human rights abuse. So most of these Muslim majority nations have authoritarian connection with the China. They all are authority to indulge in their national affairs, such as personal rights. So and I hope my presentation make an impact. Thank you.